It's officially WAC Vegas week. I am on site at the Orleans Arena, the host site for the WAC tournament. We have Andy Katz on this week's WAC Chat with Andy Katz. I'm Kendra Sheehan. And Andy, you've been watching these teams all season long. Utah Valley just locked up the regular season title and the number one seed. They are back-to-back regular season titles, and they are coming in on a 5-game win streak. What are you seeing from this Wolverines team that makes you think maybe they could be the ones to break the drought at the Orleans Arena and hoist up that WAC tournament trophy?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so many opportunities over the past years and multiple different coaches. So it's obviously, the sense of urgency for them to get it done. But I will say this, the triple matchup this season, what does it produce? It's produced a highly competitive league, especially, I would argue in the top four with Utah Valley, Cal Baptist, Utah Tech, and UT Arlington. Arlington's coming on 2 in a row. Cal Baptist has won 4 in a row. You mentioned Utah Valley. They're on a hot streak and winning 6 in a row. Utah Tech unable to convert over the last couple of days, and they lost 2 in a row. So I won't be shocked for any different combinations among those top 4 just because they've had such a, sort of a balanced schedule. I mean, 4 losses, won it for Utah Valley, only a game ahead of Cal Baptist. So I fully anticipate we are going to get a highly competitive few days in Vegas.
One of the interesting things when we talk with head coach Todd Phillips for Utah Valley is they have the bye, and some coaches love the bye, some coaches hate the bye. He's on the side that he doesn't love the fact that they don't get to play and build that momentum early. How often have you seen tournament teams that have had to sit and had to play a team that's gotten red hot in that arena go on to hoist up that trophy instead and maybe pull an upset early?
Yeah, no, I will tell you that there are pros and cons to this. And we've seen this in multiple tournaments where teams will get buys all the way to the quarters, sometimes the semis, like with the WCC. And it can produce, some stagnant play, especially early on in those first halves, because the team's been sitting around quite a bit. The other teams, as long as they still stay healthy, has a familiarity with the arena. They've got their rotation down. And so I have found that more often than not, for the teams that are maybe not the favorite, sort of that 2, 3, 4 kind of seeds, when they don't, when they do get a bye, and then they play someone that's a little hot, like in that 5, 6, 7, 8 range, they get upset. So I don't know if it'll be as much of a factor here down the stretch in this tournament. I do think it can be a factor when it's, the teams that are right below them that end up having that bye.
You look at California Baptist, they're coming into this on a 4-game win streak. They've locked up the number 2 seed. They have Dominic Daniels Jr. We've talked about him all season long. He can go out for 40 points. This is a veteran team that put together a lot of transfers, but had a core nucleus come back. What are you seeing from Rick Croy's squad that make you excited for the way that the Lancers could come out in this tournament?
Well, I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, the fact that they've got a guy in Dominic Daniels who can go for 20 plus, and a guy that you can count on, in crunch time, that's a huge advantage for them. I like the fact that they're coming off a road win at Southern Utah. So they're already, they've already won away from home as recently as their last game. They're sort of, their last mini losing streak was when they went to Utah the last time, when they had 3 games in Utah. They beat Southern Utah, then they lost to Utah Tech and Utah Valley. That was already weeks ago. So I feel pretty good about Cal Baptist's chances going forward. They're averaging over 70 points a game. They're, doing a great job of out-rebounding their opponents. They're keeping teams under 70. So they've got the right sort of metrics going in here statistically to pull off, a couple of wins.
Utah Tech was a surprising team this year just based on the way that they started the season. They're non conference. They weren't having a ton of success, but they were also putting together pretty much an entirely new roster under Judkin's squad. And now they've seemed to come alive when they're lighting it up from the 3 point land. It's really hard to stop them. What are you seeing from the Trailblazers where they're seeking their first tournament win for Utah Tech in any sport? So a huge opportunity for this university.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I just talked to him last week for our segment, and there is a lot of pressure to try to pull off this first ever NCAA tournament berth. They played a very good schedule early in the season. As you mentioned, Ethan Potter, has really delivered statistically for them. The disappointing thing was, and I know it was on the road, they had a lot of positive momentum going into that Southern Utah game. They did win that one, and then they end the season at home against Utah Valley, and it's a 104-101 game, a wild affair, not able to close that out. So I think there's a little bit of a disappointment that they're going in on this two-game skid when they had some momentum prior to that, because they had only had one loss, that Arlington loss, over like almost a 2-month period prior to this recent little two-game slide. So there was a lot of momentum going forward for Judkin's squad. Let's see if they can recapture that in Las Vegas.
UT Arlington's another fun team because it's not necessarily their offense that has been winning their games; it's their defense. And head coach KT Turner talked about it. We struggled on the offensive side, but our defense has kept us in games. How exciting is that for a team that can rely on that defensive pressure, have that gritty play, and try and come out with a win? They've been up and down pretty much all season as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give KT Turner some credit because they had that slide where they lost 5 in a row and actually ended up losing 7 of 8. And then they end up winning the last 2 to sort of give a little bit of a reset. But you're right, they're going to have to defend at a high level if they've got a chance to pull off the upset and get the AQ. Because when you lose like 7 of 8 like that late in the season, there's a chance you could lose the locker room, and that didn't happen, with them able to win these last couple of games.
And you look at the other 3, Southern Utah, they've gotten hot at the end of the season. They're starting to put together some quality wins. You look at Tarleton State, they're getting Dior Johnson back. He's been electric for the team. And Abilene Christian, as we know, they've come in and they've had success in the Orleans. They've had success in the WAC tournament. Do you see any of those 3 bottom seeds making a run with what they have?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't predict it, but I mean, we're seeing this around the country where teams that are seeded, whether it's 8, 9, that have maybe losing records, are pulling off these upsets. We saw it in the Missouri Valley Conference where a 9-seeded Drake knocked off a number 1 Belmont. So it can happen. Obviously, Abilene Christian, I think of those 3, has the experience of pulling off upsets and winning in a conference tournament. So if I were to pick one, I might go with them just based on past experience. But, the odds are not in their favor. But in these kind of single elimination events, the pressure is always on the higher seed. So I would not dismiss any one of those at the bottom pulling off an upset.
This is the team's 4th time now seeing each other. It's a different format this year. We've seen teams that have swept opponents in the regular season that might face off in the tournament. How do you see 4 times playing this team? I mean, you know each other inside and out. What differences can these teams make or adjust to be able to have a different result than maybe they've had in the regular season?
Well, let's be honest. There's going to be no secrets here. I mean, the scouting is going to be impeccable. Everyone knows whether someone can go right, left, over which shoulder. So it's going to come down to, it's going to come down to effort, those 50-50 balls, who gets hot, who's on a heater, because there's going to be no surprises here. Everyone has picked apart everyone's offense, defense, their special plays. Maybe they were able to pull something off in the last couple of 48 hours to pull something quick here as a play that they just came up with. So I really think it's going to come down to who wants it more, who's going to be diving on the floor, and who's going to make those big shots. And, of course, convert at the free throw line.
Do I dare ask you who your pick would be based on what you've seen all season and the hype going into this tournament?
All right. So if you're going to make me pick one, yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with the hot hand. I'm going to go with Cal Baptist. I'm going to say Dominic Daniels delivers, when it matters most. He's the best player. He's going to be the best player on the floor in every game. So I'll go with Cal Baptist.
Alrighty, Utah Valley going to put this up in their locker room for this.
All right. All right. I challenge them. See if they can get it done.
Historically, they have struggled in the Orleans arena, but they are chasing their first NCAA tournament title. Thank you so much, Andy, for this preview of the WAC men's basketball tournament. We get underway March 11th through the 14th here at the Orleans arena. You can watch all those games on ESPN+. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.